everybody. My name is Humberto Martin. I'm with the Twin Cities Coalition for Justice. We are a grassroots organization fighting for justice for the people whose lives were stolen by police in the Twin Cities. Originally formed in 2015 after the murder of Jamar Clark and the 18-day occupation of the 4th Precinct, our work had primarily focused on justice for Jamar Clark and his family. However, in the nearly 9 years since, our scope of work has grown to extend our solidarity to everyone who's fighting for the right to self-determination and for all injustices here in the U.S. and abroad. I've been asked to talk particularly about the solidarity between the Black liberation movement here in the U.S. and the liberation movement in Palestine, the Palestine liberation movement. That informs our work. This solidarity that stems at least as far back in history as 1967 in what is referred to as the 67 War, a military assault carried out by the Israeli forces on Palestine, resulting in the occupation of the West Bank, Gaza, as well as the Syrian Golan Heights. At this time, the same time, the Black Power movement was rising out of the broader Black freedom movement in the US. From these movements, organizations like the Black Panther Party and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or the SNCC, were formed. In response to the 67 War, seeing the brutal military occupation of the West Bank and the seizure of Gaza, the SNCC wrote a newsletter that articulated an understanding of the June 67 War as a war of colonial occupation and identified Palestinians as part of the global anti-colonial, anti-imperialist struggle. The Black Panther Party also supported the Palestinian cause regarding African Americans as an internally colonized people and considered both Black Americans and Palestinians to be the third world peoples oppressed by colonialism and imperialism, even developing relations with the Palestinian liberation occupation. It was also activists like Nelson Mandela speaking to the similarities between the Israeli apartheid state and the South African apartheid that was instrumental in raising the general level of consciousness about Palestine and the Black community here in the US and solidifying the solidarity between them. This history of solidarity was seen most recently in 2020 during the uprising here in the US in response to the brutal murder of George Floyd, a murder that drew clear, concrete lines between the struggle of liberation here in Palestine. For example, during the uprising, US police fired rubber-coated bullets, tear gas canisters, pepper spray, and stun grenades at protesters. It was the Palestinians that shared tips on social media on how to best deal with the assaults. The tactics used by Israeli forces to terrorize occupied Palestinian territories under the guise of security operations were the same tactics taught to US law enforcement delegates since September 11. Tactics such as the one used in the murder of George Floyd. Gang databases, like the one Chicago's Civilian Office of Police Accountability got rid of last year, that's right, are identical to the Shin Bet's list, a list that Palestinians who are arbitrarily defined as security threats get put on. In Atlanta, a militarized police training center known as Cop City, which is a near replica of Israeli's training facility, uses surveillance systems developed by Elbit System, the very same company that helps maintain the Iron Dome. These are but a few examples of the common struggle for liberation that unites Black and brown people. And so it is in the spirit of unity in a common struggle for the right of self-determination that TCC4J organized a pro-Palestine and Black Lives Matter car caravan and rally on January 13th, commemorating Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. Over 250 people gathered in the parking lot to decorate their cars with demands of justice and slogans of solidarity before driving through the streets of St. Paul. After arriving at the Capitol, we heard coalition members speak about the connection between the violence and tactics used by US police and the IOF. TCC4J also organized a Palestinian and Black liberation teach-in to over 150 people. A teach-in where coalition members gave a historical account, far more in-depth than I have today, of the link between the Black liberation struggle and the Palestinian struggle for liberation that recognizes that these struggles are against a colonial project that started well before October 7th. So here in the Twin Cities, our struggle for self-determination comes in the form of community control of the police, a concept originally from the Reconstruction era and revived by the Black Panthers in the 60s, is couched in the logic of self-determination and people's right to have control over the institutes that shape their lives. TCC Virginia has been working for nearly 2 years to gather enough signatures to get a measure on the ballot that would radically change the city's charter, completely stripping the mayor of all power over the Minneapolis Police Department and putting that power in the hands of an all-elected civilian police accountability commission. May 1st is this year's deadline to get this measure on the ballot in November, and we are confident that we'll have enough signatures to do just that. So if you happen to live in Minneapolis, we ask that you support this initiative, sign our petition today. Thank you so much.